adventurous young man, romantic, adventurous young man, hormonally. But then it went into Cancer. His progression went into Cancer. And by about 1903, it starts squaring his sun. It squares his sun exactly in 05. Squares his Mars. The sun, progressed sun, squares his Mars. Still working through that. You can see it here. There's a Saturn, the square conjunct Saturn, square Jupiter, square Mars. The three together from 1998 to 1905. But really, because the sun's degree, it's going to be another year past that before it. So that would have been 1906. And just as that's finishing the square to Mars, then he meets Young. I have it. The first meeting with Young is in this yellow, marked yellow here, 5 degrees Cancer. And in this point, it's interesting. There's Cancer. So the hexagram there was called Coming to Meet. It's the beginning of the darkness, the Coming to Meet. It's a Scorpio sub-theme, but the image was obstructions to meditation, obstructions to stillness. So there were inner obstructions, and inside that was the image, a couple of hexagrams, but really it was a hexagram of the influence wooing. There was a Libra pendant. So there's Cancer with a Scorpio pendant, a commitment, Libra, the charm. There was kind of a seductive sense of security through this. So finding a student that's really into my stuff, this is Freud's chart. He's reading into it. He's putting importance into this. More than Freud was. Jung was putting importance to it, but he saw the social relevance. This is a good thing. I'm not moving away from it. I can benefit by hanging around with this guy and learning from him. But he wasn't planning, I'm just going to do what he does. I want to learn from him and put my own take on it. So I mean, I think every teacher gets that. They expect something in a student, they pour the extra bit in, but then the student's going to use it for themselves, not necessarily follow what you've done. They'll take it and then they'll go their own way. But this was when they met. So then when they were traveling the first meeting, then they were traveling. What's happening here? 1 second. Yeah, okay. Then he travels to USA. It changed to another. It changed to the hexagram changed to preponderance of the great from 2008 would have been 2014. So the rest of the relationship would have been it folded before it got out of this hexagram of preponderance of the great 1912. Okay, so there are not really difficult aspects in his progressed sun through this. He'd gone through it all just before meeting him. So he'd been blasted by progressed sun hitting the Mars and the Jupiter, Saturn. He had his understanding worked out, and he's feeling it's a little heavy, a little severe. I'm restricted, and he meets somebody that's coming in that's young, and he projects into the youth, the Venus to the Saturn. So, 1 second here. I think I've done this in greater detail. Yes. Okay. This is every 10 minutes or 3. I don't think I went down to tighter. Still 10 minutes. Yeah, okay. There we go. So I wanted to use the I Ching for this last bit just to see what's going on with this. So the first meeting with Jung was Cancer, hexagram Coming to Meet, line 6, with a Scorpio pentan, and the hexagram was obstruction, and inside of that was influence and wooing. So it was a sort of seductive, intense projection here, but also the battle between sexual roots to neuroses and not was the obstruction. One person was on one side of that argument, the other person was on the other side. They were opposite ends of a magnet attracting each other rather than being the same ends. So like they're holding together, like they're both in the same thing, but they're holding. Jung gained a lot from Freud. Freud gained a lot by got a few years of youth out of being with Jung. But that compromise or that projection by Freud ended up causing a lot of sorrow. That set him up for the big sorrow of his transits of Neptune to Venus, Uranus. He set up an inner expectation that wasn't being met outwardly. Okay, and Jung was catering to it, but he was never in there, so he was maintaining it as long as he could till he just said it's not worth it. He went his own way. He finished with the teacher. I'm going on to other things. I don't need any more of that course. So both sides you can understand and see. this is my take anyway. So I want to get this hexagram. Okay, we'll take it. Boom. I'm just going to read the first one, so I'm not going to go deeper into the obstructions and the influence wooing, although they're really fascinating. I'm just going to try and work through. I want to get a sense of the progress of this over this whole relationship. So coming to meet, it's going to be about the first one. Here we go. Coming to meet, hexagram 44. Broken line 6 and 5 solid lines above it. It's the beginning of receptivity. Progressed sun just went into Cancer. It's the beginning of being sensitive to others, coming out of his most independent sense when it was all solid and he wrote his book. Now he's becoming receptive to others who are into his ideas. Okay, so the image. So this is for 6 years. This is not the whole relationship. This is up until, this has been going on. This is the last year until he meets Young, and then it goes on to the next hexagram. Heaven above, wind below, light above, trees below, strength above, gentleness below. One moves independently but remains sensitive to others. Like a strong wind, one asserts oneself through penetrating gentleness, firm but careful. So his firm but careful, certainly you think of his T-square right away. But then the image, shade can be useful, receptivity returns, concentration is challenged, gentle expression is required. What good is strength if no one cares? That's his Taurus sun in the 7th house and the Mars in the 11th house. That really brings this issue of what good is strength if no one cares? Find context for your creativity. I got a student who's going to study for me. He's going to be my personal ambassador. You may be driving the chariot, but who or what drives you? No one will challenge or contend. The secret is in the ears and the heart. So he had, the setup is he's the established psychotherapist, and he's got someone who wants to study from him and go deeply. It's coming in and putting the energy in. I buy it. That's there. But the personal thing is he was personally reading his youth, living youthfully through Young, and Young was riding the trail because he's taking the extra energy. Young with the Taurus moon had a direct link to Freud's sun. I'll take this. This is good. I'm benefiting from this. I just mirror, I reflect this, I go along, it works fine. But I'm working on my own thing. I don't buy the whole thing. And that never got communicated back, or in pieces. Every time Young would communicate that, he would be put down by Freud. And that was the wedge. The beliefs were different. They were in different centers. Okay, the judgment. Strength without, gentleness within. After breathing in, one pauses for a moment. Amidst the hustle and bustle, sensitivity emerges. One wonders if anyone cares, if someone will listen. There will be many words. If no one listens, there will be many thoughts. Strong opinions spoken gently. There will be expectations. So he's at the end of 6 years of going through this. This is the last of the 6th year of this. So that he had expectations, that he had the Cancer worries about getting older and not being appreciated, of wanting to be listened to. All of these things were there. Now, the beginning of increasing darkness, the return of responsibilities and the need to belong. For 3 days, the light holds steady at its strongest. On the 4th day, 4th line, one can observe the light is receding. The night force returns slowly. One begins to become sensitive to the rest of the world. One can sense for a need for more personal security, coming to meet the results of what one has said and done. So he's done the book, he's coming to meet the results of what he said. That he's done the book, he's found someone who's into the book and really into it, wants to study and go deeper with it. Whoa, he bought it. Okay, now the line gives the specific changes of each year. Each line is a year coming up to this. I'm just going to go to the 6th line. Here we go. This is then going on while he's meeting. One is too active, pushes too far, and says what should not be said. One does not measure one's influence properly. One does not take time to relax. The children will misbehave. It's interesting. This is at the seeds of their beginning from Young. Freud's viewpoint, Young continually misbehaved because he didn't say the condition was you have to give up everything else. He just assumed it. Negative thoughts are the seeds of obstruction. Doubts will cause isolation and failure. If one does not have something good to say, why say it? So Young didn't say anything, but the seeds of obstruction, they weren't together on this issue to begin with. One makes assumptions about others. One speaks inappropriately. Someone will be offended. Misfortune and humiliation. Well, really, misfortune and humiliation is what Jung got out of showing favoritism to this one student over the others. Yet they both were interested in dreams that pulled them together. A common interest, a different conclusion. Okay, so once they meet and they go, then shortly, by just within 6 months, it moved into the next hexagram of preponderance of the great, which I think is a nice theme because they're understanding the vastness and the nature of the universe. This hexagram just seems to work really well for that 6 years, but this is the 6 years, the rest of his relation, thinking of the bigness of how great things could be and the vulnerabilities between it. Now, the traditional image of this hexagram is this picture is as a beam going across a ceiling that the roof is holding on, but because it's weak at the top and weak at the bottom, there's a crack in the beam, and the roof is sagging and it's going to cave in. Like you're pondering how long will the roof last? So that's the theme of this hexagram in the traditional interpretation. The lake above, wood below. One can enjoy the water, but must be careful to watch for hidden tree stumps. Happy without, sensitive within. Positive persuasion. It's important to encourage the efforts of others. Well, he did that. It's important for him to encourage the efforts of Jung. Go for it. Here, take this. Look at this. Plant the seeds. Rain in the forest, abundant growth. Watch where you are going. Don't step too strongly. Don't stand too tall. Don't walk too fast. What if you get lost? One only has so much strength. So this is the image. Like there's a vulnerability in his projecting everything to Jung. He projected too much. He gave up the strictness and the solidity of his being a teacher and his knowing what he's doing and putting this out to get on the same level with the student. And it built up the student more than it should have been, and it diminished him more than it should have. So it was a lack of perception on that. The judgment, happiness without, gentleness within. Words of encouragement, confidence will increase. When worries fade, there will be laughter. Once begun, it will be difficult to stop. Little comments will have great repercussions. Thoughts will lead to actions. It will be easy to overemphasize one's own importance. So he felt he was going to be the father to Jung, the overimportance to Jung.